And now, the starting lineup of your favorite show. At producer, 5'11" from Blanchester, the Cow Killer, Casey McCollister. And comic engineer, standing at 4'8", the pride of the West Side, Elliot Rearing. And your host, weighing 150 pounds, soaking wet, from Hamilton, Ohio, Ace Fowler.
Yo, yo, yo! Hello and welcome in on another sunny, beautiful day here in Hamilton, Ohio. It's Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. We come your way every day, 10 a to 12 p. We have a good show for you later today. Later on today, we're going to have Tom and Marty Brenneman come in. I don't know if you saw on Twitter last night, but Marty met with the Chatterbox boys. So I'm excited to see. They finally got to Arizona, got the spring training, and they watched a game that probably wasn't a whole lot of fun to watch, but still great weather. A lot of college basketball coming around, some NFL news. We'll get to it all. Still probably be a pretty NFL-heavy show. I still got scars on my head. But I was scrolling through Twitter yesterday, and I came across a tweet, and it kind of pushed some of the narratives that I've heard people concerned about college athletics, and I get where the concern comes from, and this concern came from one of the titans. One of the titans of the sport is, here's a clip from Nick Saban talking about college athletics.
All the things that I believed in for all these years, 50 years of coaching, no longer exist in college athletics. So it's always was about developing players. It was always about helping people be more successful in life. My wife even said to me, we'd have all the recruits over on Sunday with their parents for breakfast, and she would always meet with the mothers and talk about how she was going to help and impact their sons and how they would be well taken care of. And she came to me, like right before I retired and said, why are we doing this? And I said, what do you mean? She said, all they care about is how much you're going to pay them. They don't care about how you're going to develop them, which is all what we've always done. So why are we doing this?
All right. So here's the thing. He said, everything I've known about college athletics for the last 50 years has changed. Yeah, everything you have known about college football from 50 years ago has changed. Everything you've known, for the most part, about college athletics 20 years ago has changed. You know what else has changed in the last 50 years? Pretty much everything. Schools, transportation, media, the way that you get information. Things change almost always. And it isn't terrifying. It isn't bad. More often than not always, but more often than not, change is good. It's just a part of life. It's okay. Yeah, the thing that made Nick Saban a millionaire. Yes, the thing that made Nick Saban famous no longer plays, right? It changed. There's going to be a new titan of the sport coming soon. And this isn't an indictment on Nick Saban. He makes valid points, right? He talks about when he first started coaching, it was about, hey, how can you develop me as a human, as an athlete? Can you give me a good work ethic, right? All those things that we cherish about college athletics, right? Can you give me a good work ethic? Can you give me a way to respect elders and respect figures above you? Can you make boys young men? Right? Can you make them future leaders of America, future leaders of the world? That was it 20 years ago, and maybe that's not at the forefront when it comes to recruiting anymore. Maybe that's not at the forefront of these players' minds, but it's because the sport changed. It's because of how much money has come into the sports that now these players are getting an opportunity to make some money. The same things that made Nick Saban famous and rich are the same things that are the driving force in what changes today. So you can't get in bed with fame, with money, with all these things and complain when you smell like it, right? When you get out of the bed. You can't do those things. And here's the thing, and I'll push back on that the athletes aren't trying to, or the mission statement of college athletics isn't the same, right? I'll push back on that because, yes, athletes now when they go to these big time schools, they want to know how much money can you give me, right? Because they know that there's worth, right? They see the big stadiums, they see them filled everything. They see the bars and the TV contracts and all that stuff. They know that they're worth money. But once you get them there, you still got to instill in them a good work ethic. You still got to instill in them to respect elders. You still got to instill in them all these things. Listen, 100 years ago, there was a family, right? There's a family called the Vanderbilts. They made their fortune in getting people to where they wanted to go, right? They were the titans, a monopoly in the locomotive trains, right? Railroads. Then cars came around, and the Vanderbilts pushed against it, right? They had been at the top of the transportation game. There's still a school in the SEC called Vanderbilt, but their fortunes dwindled. Did people stop getting to where they were going? No. Cars made it easier. Cars made it cheaper. Transportation's better than it ever was. Don't push back on things because change is inevitable, and change for the most part is good. Casey, we also got Sean Spurlock in the house today,
right.
guys. Sean, you yeah. Anytime that the Bearcats do something that the Bearcats have been doing all year long, giving you a heart attack, we're gonna have Spurlock come in here. But Casey, take us through the rundown.
You want to hear the rundown? Well, I'll get to this rundown. Let's start with college basketball, and let's start with UC right away. Why not, right? Because they got a win yesterday. They beat West Virginia 90-85. They had a great performance from Simas Lukosius with 31 points. That was enough to come back from
90 points.
Yeah, they came back from a 16-point deficit in the middle of the second half.
Spur, how is your heart today? 16 points. It was what, 62-46? I'm getting texts. I'm driving around. I'm setting something up at Miami for the games this weekend, and I'm driving back and I'm checking my phone. I'm not watching the game. I'm checking my phone, and I'm getting texts from my friends, and they're going, "Hey, these cats suck. I'm tired of them. These poor kitty cats. They're wrecking my heart." And then like 10 minutes went by, and I just get a text that said, "Cats, they're back." Spur, from down 16 with 12 minutes to go to pretty much tying it up with 7 minutes to go.
What's not mentioned that they just played this team on Saturday
And blew them out.
and they beat them 92-56. So yeah, I mean, I will give West Virginia some credit though. They made shots yesterday. I mean, UC's defense might not have been as good as it's been all year, but I mean, I think they shot over 50% from three in the game. They shot about 58% from the floor. At one point in the game, I think they were over 60% both from three and from the floor in the game. So they were making shots. UC's MO all year has been defense and rebounding. They sloppied the games up in the Big 12, kept low-scoring games, and yesterday was the complete opposite. Day Thomas, I think, on the year was he's under 30% from three on the year. Yesterday he made 7 threes. The shots were falling, and thank God they were because they needed every single one of them to win that game. And at one point in the game, they called all the way back, took the lead. I looked away for a second because I was outside with my son because he wanted to go outside. So I was kind of watching on my phone, and all of a sudden it's 82-77. I'm like, oh my God, we're down 5 again. Here we go. We're gonna come all the way back and still lose this game. And then Day Thomas back-to-back three-pointers to put us up 1.
60 points, 14 threes hit between Lukosius and Day Thomas. It's funny. We were talking about this game before we went live, and Spur tells me, he goes, "I'll be honest. I told myself, if they can't win this game, what am I doing? What am I doing? I ain't going to watch them." And he's like, then they just did what they always do. Back and forth, down 16, and then they got to claw all the way back. So now you got to watch.
Yeah, I'll be watching tonight. They actually 2.5-point favorites tonight going into the night.
Why is that?
That's
Explain
crazy.
that to me like I'm 4 years old.
Kansas has 2 players out tonight. Hunter Dickinson and Kevin McCullough both aren't playing. I mean, I think that's their top 2 scorers on the year. So the Bearcats. And you know what? The Bearcats have been in every single game this year. They played Kansas close at home when they had those 2 guys. They had both McCullough and Dickinson in that game. So I got a good feeling that they can get it done tonight. I think they need tonight and tomorrow to even be in the conversation, and I don't even think that's good enough. I think they're probably going to have to win their next 3 games to actually feel good
You think
about
they're gonna have to get to
Selection
the
Sunday.
championship?
Yeah, they have to get to the championship to feel good. I think if they can win tonight and win tomorrow, they'll at least maybe be right there on the borderline.
You'll be talked about on Sunday.
They'll be talked about, but I mean, if a couple things go against them and a couple of these other bubble teams make runs in their tournament, so I think they need 3 to feel comfortable. But
So you like your chances tonight?
I think they got a good shot. If they come out and play well and just play their game, they need to be a little better on the defensive side of the ball tonight. There's no doubt about that. But I know the effort to be there, the rebounding is going to be there, so I think they got a good shot tonight.
It's going to be loud. It's going to be loud for.
It's probably going to be the loudest game of the day for the Big 12 tournament.
I was going to say,
no doubt about that.
How do they? Can they move that tournament? I mean, it's right there.
They actually just extended it. I think it's through 2031. It's going to be there.
Oh, my goodness.
Kansas has it for a long time. But another thing to mention is looking back at the Bearcats, the way this draw played out for them, because they had the game against Oklahoma last week that I got real upset about. They lost that game. If they would have won that game, they would have been the 9 seed in this tournament, which means they would have played TCU today, I believe. Mm-hmm. And if you win that game, you're playing Houston. So the draw actually
worked out.
Kind of worked out. I mean, they got to play West Virginia. They almost lost, but they got through, and now they get a kind of undermanned Kansas team tonight. They can win tonight. They got Baylor, which I think is a winnable game tomorrow. So. Yeah.
Got to play well. Yeah, we were talking about Xavier plays tonight against Butler, and it feels a little, as I'm wearing my Running Man Xavier stuff, it feels a little bit like when you watch, you see the OHSAA tournament bracket draw down, and there will be Harrison and Mount Healthy playing in a first-round game, and the winner gets to play Moeller, because the winner of Butler-Xavier gets to play UConn, and the odds for either one of those teams in that game. Casey, what else we got in the rundown?
Well, speaking of that, like you said, Xavier plays tonight at 4 p.m. against Butler.
Favored.
They're favored by 1.5 points. Interesting since they just played. But.
I was surprised. I was surprised by that.
They were favored when they played at Cintas, right?
Yeah.
Makes sense, at home. And then they were dogs when they played at Hinkle. Makes sense. They're on the road. Xavier playing bad at the right time. I don't know. It feels like the two teams are pretty evenly matched, in my opinion. 1 point isn't a big swing either way. It's a 1.5 point.
It's a basket.
Yeah, it's. I don't know.
Is the winner of this game really a loser?
Because they get to play UConn.
They got to play. The winner of this game is playing to see who plays UConn tomorrow.
I know. It's not good. It's not good. We'll see what happens. Hey, listen. People forget the UConn Huskies in their national championships. They could not beat the Muskies last year. So we'll see if there's some magic run out there in the Big East tournament. But that game's at 4?
Yep, 4 o'clock tonight.
4. Hey, good luck, Mouse Cop. Let's bring one home for the boys. What else we got?
So we got a few teams that punched their ticket into the tournament. Forgive me as I go through these. I'm not very familiar with all the conference names, but St. Mary's beats Gonzaga 69-60 to win the West Coast Conference. Charleston.
Does that mean is Gonzaga in?
They're in.
They're a top 25 team. I know the AP is what it is, but they're in.
They're
right?
in. They beat Kentucky and they won a game against St. Mary's late in the year.
Okay,
those two wins.
All right, they're in.
Yep.
All right, go on.
Yep. And then Charleston beats Stony Brook to win the CAA championship. I don't know what that stands for, so forgive me.
Pat Kelsey,
that's right.
Oakland beats Milwaukee 83-76 to win the Barbasol Horizon League.
You got it right this time. I told you guys. Remember what I told you back in December? Oakland is a wagon. Oakland is an NCAA team. They were well tested. They went to Cintas Center. They got a win against the Muskies, and they took the Horizon League. We told you from the get-go that wasn't an embarrassing loss. Now they're going to go upset some one seed.
What about Delaware? What are they doing?
The Blue Hens?
Yeah.
The Blue Hens? I don't know about that one.
We'll go check up on them here in a minute. Wagner beats Merrimack 54-47 to win the Northeast Conference Tournament. South Dakota State beats Denver 76-68 to win the Summit League Championship. Those are the teams that have punched their ticket in from yesterday.
March
Madness.
That's my favorite thing about this time of year is just getting on Twitter and you just see March. This is March. It's become a running gag at this point. Casey, any NFL news?
Yeah, we got some NFL news to cover here. Before we get to that, I'm going to briefly go over some of the stuff that happened yesterday in baseball. The Reds had a miserable day yesterday.
Oh, no.
14-1, losing to the White Sox. Graham Ashcraft and the pitching staff looked absolutely miserable.
Did you see Trace's tweet?
About Alex Young?
No, about he tweeted at Gordon Wittenmeyer. Casey, I just sent it to you. If you can pull that up here in a second. Gordon Wittenmeyer was talking about, so this White Sox team is supposed to be pretty bad, right? They're supposed to be pretty bad. Obviously, the White Sox and the Reds were the teams that played in the 1919 World Series when the White Sox threw it. And Gordon Wittenmeyer made some jab about how this White Sox team is going to lose 100 games. They're the Black Sox. They're an embarrassment. And then Trace just took a picture of the scoreboard. And when the White Sox were beating the Reds 15-1 or something like that, I thought it was a pretty funny jab. Just the score, 15-1. Then old Gordo, poor Gordo. We got to get Gordo on the show at some point.
Well, I just know the Chatterbox account tweeted out when Alex Young was running onto the field yesterday because it was his first appearance of the spring, and then about 15 minutes later, Trace quote tweeted and put, "It's going well." I think he had zero outs recorded and had already given up like 5 or 6 runs in the inning.
Yeah, it was not good.
Not good.
Not good at all.
Also, I'm seeing people commenting on my my forehead. I don't know if you guys heard the story yesterday, but I burned myself while cooking. That's oil. Oil splashed up on my forehead, splashed up on my arm. People are telling me that it's going to scar for a long time, so hope that's not the case. I also have been told recently that I have too many wrinkles. Maybe
You're too stressed.
get some Botox in the body. All right, what else we got?
Other than that, you asked me to put this in the rundown. The Cubs beat the Brewers 6-5.
Ooh, I forgot about that. Patrick Wisdom, walk-off home run. All right, on to football.
The big news, I'm only going to cover the big stuff. Danielle Hunter, edge rusher, signed with the Houston Texans for a 2-year, $49 million deal.
That's a big time.
$24.5 million per year, $48 million total guaranteed. That's a great pair there with William Anderson or Will Anderson.
Will Anderson, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good edge rushing duo. They were able to replace Greenard. So.
They're killing. Like in all honesty,
watch out for the Texans. Yeah.
They're killing. They're killing their offseason. That's a division that shouldn't be very tough. I think the Jags will come back and be a little better. I still think that it's a 2-team league, though. I don't think the Titans, even with Callahan down there, and they're making some moves.
I
but
don't
they're
know.
not.
I think. I think that's a very competitive division at this very moment.
The Colts. The Colts could be good.
Yeah.
The Colts head coach doesn't get enough praise for how good of a coach. Like, he's a very offensive gifted mind.
Well, I mean, the Colts stayed in it last year, and Anthony Richardson actually looked good at the beginning of the season before he got hurt. So we'll see how he bounces back off that injury.
Hey, shout out Mr. Mo. He just found out. He just told us in the chat that his wife's birthday.
Yeah, congrats,
Hey,
Mr.
congrats.
Congrats. I know how that process works, by the way. Congrats on that. Casey, what else we got?
Couple of news around the AFC North. Patrick Queen, the former Baltimore Ravens linebacker, signs with Pittsburgh Steelers for a 3-year, $41 million deal, $13.67 million a year. That bolsters a huge weakness for that team where the linebackers were a little suspect last year for them. It's a good signing for them. Steelers also traded Deontay Johnson to the Panthers, and they're sending Johnson a 7th-round pick to Carolina for Dante Jackson, a cornerback that helps bolster that room up a little bit, and a 6th-round pick.
Isn't what the Steelers are doing very unique? Like, it's so evident. Like, I always talk about, like, having an offensive coach versus a defensive coach. And it is so evident when you have an offensive or defensive coach, the moves that they make. So Mike Tomlin, yeah, he brings in Russell Wilson. And, yeah, I think that's a positive move. Is it a 1 or 2 win move? I don't know. They were a 10-win team with Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph. You got to think that they improve on that with Russell Wilson. But they're trading away wide receivers, and they're making moves for cornerbacks and linebackers when I think we can look at the team last year and say, what was the problem? Why didn't this team win more? Why didn't this team do more? It wasn't the defense that people were poking at. And yeah, these are positive moves for the Steelers. It's just really interesting to see, like, you see teams with an offensive head coach They bring in guys on that side of the ball. You see a team with defensive head coach, guys like we bring up the Texans. They get a bunch of guys on the defensive side. We bring up the Steelers. They get a linebacker. They get a cornerback. It's just really interesting, I think.
Yeah.
I don't fully understand their game plan. Like, I feel like they should be helping their offense, but they're bolstering up the defense.
To be fair, they did just get a huge, massive boost for having a $1 million quarterback, so they can still
Right, they
go
still
out
can
and
make some
do-
moves, right.
They can still go out and do a bunch of moves. They could probably use the entire draft on offense if they just bolster up the defense. But regardless, Ravens signed Derrick Henry to a 2-year, $16 million deal. Those two, Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, have been the leading rushers at their positions for the last, I think it was 7 years, since 2018, 6-7 years. So big addition for the Ravens. Derrick Henry's a scary back to have to play twice a year.
Listen, I didn't back myself into the corner of saying that running backs don't matter and running backs don't move the needle except for Christian McCaffrey. But running backs across the board, they just don't mean anything to me. And then I get worried about Derrick Henry going to the Ravens. What's going to happen? They're going to get better. They already won 14 games and were the number one team in the NFL for the entire year. Come on. I mean, yeah. We've been talking about Derrick Henry to the Ravens for like 3 years now. It's been a nightmare scenario for Bengals fans for quite some time. Now there's some questions about the Bengals' run-stopping abilities, and we'll get to that later on. But, like, Derrick Henry to the Ravens, that dude, we use the phrase. We use this phrase almost too much when it comes to running backs. There's tread on the tires, right? There's a lot of tread on those. Who has more tread on their tires than Derrick Henry? How old's Derrick Henry? He's 30, right?
He will be turning 30, I believe.
And no one gets more carries than Derrick Henry in the league for the most part. I don't know. It seems like a move. Certainly they are better than they were yesterday. But I don't think any running back move, except for Christian McCaffrey, turns you from like a quarterback. You get a new quarterback, you upgrade from a middling quarterback to an elite quarterback. That's worth like 3 wins. That's worth wins. I don't know if Derrick Henry to the Ravens makes them a 2-win better team or a 1-win better team. And I know they just won 14 games last year, so there's not much more room for improvement. They're already contenders. Yeah, it's an extra piece to that, but it doesn't make them world beaters, I guess is what I'm saying. I fear the Ravens the exact same amount today that I did before this signing. I still think that they were already a great team. I had them at number 1 in the power rankings 2 weeks ago when I did that.
Well, they ran the ball fine last year without
Right.
Derrick Henry. So, I mean,
Right. Do
are
they
they going to run the ball better now? I mean, they already run it great. So,
What changes? They're a little more efficient in the red zone. Like they already moved the ball. Like it's a plus move for the Ravens. But like it's not world-changing stuff.
I do think that the move, if he is still like, which I don't think he's at this point in his career, but if he was still like 28, 27, where he could still run like a deer, that move is very troublesome because I think they can open up holes. They're very efficient in the run game, but I don't think Gus Edwards was breaking a tackle every time he touched the ball. Like Derrick Henry, you can account for him to at least be very competitive in breaking a tackle every time he touches the ball.
And you're right, but does this take the ball out of Lamar's hand a little more? That's something, if I'm a Ravens fan, that's something I don't want, right? I don't want the ball taken out of Lamar's hands because Lamar's a playmaker. 2-time MVP. No, he's had trouble in the postseason. But let me put it this way. As a Bengals fan, are you more worried when they turn around and hand it off to Derrick Henry, or are you more worried when Lamar Jackson drops back? We can't sack him. You saw that in 2 games last year. Dude runs around. He runs rampant. So if they want to hand the ball off 20 times to Derrick Henry, let them. Go ahead. Sure, I think that makes you a worse team. Once again, this does improve efficiency in the red zone. This does make them a better team. They upgraded at a position. But as I've said before, like, there's one running back in the league that really moves the needle for me. Everywhere else, it feels like a safety. It feels like I compare the two, right? running backs and safeties. There's the reason that tackles are getting $25 million, wide receivers are getting $30 million, quarterbacks are getting $60 million, and safeties are getting $10 million. Running backs are getting $8 million. Like, there's a reason for that. It's what your value is, for better or worse.
I do think that it's a bigger deal if they find another receiving threat on top of this, because most teams are probably going to prepare against the Ravens by dropping a guy in the box, because that's what they did with Derrick Henry. They just stacked the box. They do that, and they find a receiver besides the kid last year. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but that's a very scary offense. And it already is scary. Mm-hmm. It's already a scary proposition, but it's going to be very interesting. I feel like Derrick Henry adds that level of game-changing. You have to game plan differently than what you normally would against other teams.
Do you? But do you?
I think you
like
do.
You already are gearing up to try and stop the Ravens' run game, right? That's already what you're trying. They're the best run game in the league. Yeah, it gets, once again, I'm saying it gets better. But, like, this doesn't change your perspective of the Ravens. You don't have to change game plan for it. If they get a one receiver, they get a guy like Justin Jefferson. And I know that that's not rumored, and we'll get to what that is rumored later, right? Justin Jefferson, the Bengals, and all that hoopla. But, like, when you get an elite receiver, you then got to bracket him. That changes your game plan. When you get a mobile quarterback like Lamar Jackson, that changes what you're going to do from game to game. When you go from having a really good run game to having a slightly more scarier run game, and that's all it is. It's scarier because Derrick Henry's 6 foot whatever and 300 pounds. He's just a beast. But, like, you don't change how you're playing the Ravens now. Nothing changes. They just got a little better. And they were already good. I already thought they were the best roster in the league. I already thought they were the best team in the league. Now there's some moving pieces now, right? They've lost some guys on the defensive side. But I really just don't see this being a world-changing thing. In all honesty, I bring this point up a lot when it's talked about running backs. How often have you seen a star back, change teams, and midway through the season, we're still talking about that move, right? Like, this happens from time to time. Le'Veon Bell goes to a new team, and you're like, oh, man, they got Le'Veon Bell. And I know Le'Veon Bell is the exception that didn't pan out at all, and I know I'm cherry-picking stuff. But how often have you seen a move happen in the offseason? Oh, my God, they got this guy. Dalvin Cook is going to this team. Oh, my goodness, this team got this. And then middle of the season, you forget about it. I don't think we're going to do that with the Ravens because I think they're going to be at the forefront of the league news. But I can almost guarantee when the league kicks up an extra gear at Thanksgiving that the talk of the Baltimore Ravens is not going to be Derrick Henry has made this team transcend. The talk's going to be Lamar Jackson. The talk's going to be a hard-hitting defense. The talk's going to be a good head coach. It's not going to be their superstar running back. All right.
That's fair. Moving on from that, the Cleveland Browns, they signed a new backup quarterback, maybe potentially their starting quarterback, depending on if Deshaun Watson performs horribly or gets hurt again. Jameis Winston.
Spur, you love Jameis Winston.
I mean, he gives good post-game. He gets up there and he talks, says what he feels, man. I mean,
he's an interesting guy.
You never know what's going to come out of his mouth.
You know what's interesting about Jameis Winston going to the Browns is it feels like a similar move to like Joe Flacco. This is where I argued with people at the end of last season. Everyone was talking about how great Joe Flacco looked with the Browns, and I would watch him, and I'm like, dude, this dude's throwing balls all over the place. He's throwing picks. Yeah, you're going to get 400 yards, but he's also going to turn the ball over 3 times.
I mean, the first time I ever got to actually hear Jameis Winston was when they won the national championship game against I think they played Auburn that one year, and he got on the mic after the game and went on about a 3-minute spiel, and I was like, man, this guy's unbelievable. Some of the stuff he was saying, I wish we could pull that up, but that was an unbelievable 3 minutes.
My favorite is I won't fin lose on my birthday. But no, Jameis. The thing about Jameis, in all sincerity, is when you lose a starting quarterback, you can anticipate a drop-off, right? Every position you can do that. You know, you go from the starter, you go to the backup. The thing about Jameis is you can still be exciting with him. Like a lot of times you get to your backup quarterback check downs. We're going to run the ball a lot more. We're going to limit what the guy can do. With Jameis, he can still sling it if you want to sling it. They're gearing up wide receivers. And you're gonna deal with some turnovers, but you're gonna see some great throws too. I don't hate the move. $8 million for a backup or whatever they're paid for him seems a little silly, but maybe that shows me that they're not rock solid in their belief in Deshaun. I think it's a good move for the Browns.
Yeah, this also means that Joe Flacco, the reigning comeback player of the year, free agent. So.
Is somebody going to bring him in again about halfway through the season? Is
if
that what's going to happen?
If I was Joe Flacco, that's what I would do, right?
Yeah, I guess sit on go back to the couch.
Train and stuff like that. And I would tell teams, I would make it well known, hey, your guy goes down, you're a contender, I'll come to you. I'll play for you, sure. And just wait and see. You know, I don't know a good team off the top of my head. Say the Lions. Jared Goff goes down. Joe Flacco. Rams. Matt Stafford goes down. Joe Flacco.
What's the worst thing that happens to him? He just doesn't get called?
Right.
Well, he already retired anyways.
Right. Can sit at home with his family.
Yes.
Don't have to do training camp, OTAs, all that stuff. That seems like a win-win for Joe Flacco.
Yeah. I don't know if you see the Sir Boy Wonder breaking news. But Lucas Giolito expected to miss the entire 2024 season with a torn UCL.
Cue up the Trace Cameron Fowler. Giolito. The thing about Lucas Giolito is he is talented. When he's on the field, he's had some bad years, but he's had some great years too. But these injuries are piling up, and it's man, what a bad move from the Red Sox to give him the money that they gave him. And now he's going to miss the entire year.
I'll tell you what, I've heard more about that guy. For a guy that's never played for the Cincinnati Reds, you would think he's played for them for like 4 or 5 years, as much as we've heard his name in the past year and a half.
Well, here's the it's just people trying to show that they're right? Yeah. It's because that was the biggest name talked about going into the trade deadline, which just took up the entire airways for a month. Was we got to get Giolito in Cincinnati. And he went to the Angels, right? And sucked.
Yeah, horrible.
And then now he's hurt. Because he was also rumored to be like, hey, that could be a free agent signing. Because it made sense, right? Veteran right-hander, high ceiling. And he's going to miss the year. So, you know what? Good no trade by Nick Krall and good no signing by Nick Krall. Sometimes the best moves you can make is not doing something. So I feel bad for Lucas Giolito because I was as a Cubs fan, I actually have some weird affinity for certain for certain White Sox players. Giolito was one of them. So I hope he comes back and turns into be a pretty good arm again. But I don't know. Those are piling up.
So I have other breaking news. Matthew Judon, the Patriots star edge rusher, he just tweeted that he got off the phone with T. Higgins and said that T. Higgins wants to go to the Patriots.
Hey, if T. Higgins wants to go to the Patriots, I say this with all love, all the respect in the world. Send you out the door. If you give us what we're looking for, a second and a third, a first, 2 seconds, something along those lines, which I think that the Bengals are going to hold fast on that request. I don't think they're going to get it. But I think when it comes to where T. Higgins can go, the thing that will warp our brains, because we all love T. Higgins in this town. Seems like a great dude. He's a great player. Is that he goes to a team like the Ravens. That he goes to a team like the Bills. that he goes to a team like the Kansas City Chiefs. Worst nightmare. He goes to the Patriots. All right, see ya. See you later. That means nothing to me.
They're about to get a new quarterback in there. I
Man.
don't know. You never know, man.
They're going to get a top rookie quarterback. Well, depends.
Well, they got the third pick?
Yeah, the third pick. Depends
Should
on what
the
they
Patri-
trade for T. Higgins.
So as we get into this talk, we haven't done this yet. Justin Fields to New England? Because his teams are dwindling, right? The teams that could take Justin Fields, it was Steelers, it was the Falcons. They both figured it out. Okay, what about the Vikings? Vikings have a lot of pieces. Are they going to trade in the division? No, they're taking Sam Darnold.
I don't know if you've seen the Ian Rappaport's report yesterday. He was actually on ESPN, and he said that the Bears haven't even shopped him.
Yeah, they said that they're trying to figure out. But his report said that the Bears are trying to figure out who they're going to draft. He made it pretty well known that they're going to draft somebody. They're just figuring out who they're going to draft.
No, he actually said in the report
Okay.
that they want to see all the rookie quarterbacks. They're not sold on any of them yet.
Okay.
So they don't want to make a rash decision and trade Justin Fields.
Fair enough. Another team that he could have gone to was the Raiders, and
They just cut Jimmy Garoppolo.
Well, they got Gardner Minshew, so that doesn't make sense. So like his team's now options to go to are like the Patriots, the Seahawks. I don't know.
The Raiders are another one I've seen thrown out.
Well,
there.
they just signed Gardner Minshew.
Oh, okay. They got Gardner Minshew.
So it truly is interesting that there's not a bigger market for him. And I know that Ian Rappaport thing kind of alluded to that. It's like they're not shopping him, so that's why there's not a market there. But it just is so intriguing to me, this whole situation. And I do have an honest, sincere question about the Justin Fields, because you know where I said about I would prefer them to draft Caleb Williams, start the clock over, and build around Caleb Williams. Other people, which is a valid thing too, is like, hey, we could trade that first overall pick, get multiple picks, and then build around Justin Fields. You're going to have to pay Justin Fields next year. But here's my question, and this is sincere. I do not know the answer to this. This is why I'm asking it to you. I'm asking it to you guys over here. Has there ever been a quarterback, and in doing this process, I'm gonna have to ask you to give me something here. Justin Fields has not played well, right? Can we agree on that?
I mean, he hasn't played great.
He hasn't played well. Has there been a quarterback that through 3 years didn't play well? Regardless of team, regardless of where they landed, all this stuff. And those are valid concerns about why. Like, you can say, like, yeah, he played on a bad team and stuff like that. Have you ever seen a quarterback that 3 years into the league, 4 years into the league, however long he's been here, and he goes somewhere else, and then he pops, right? Has there ever been a quarterback like that where you haven't seen something good? Like I know that at times he does the playmaker stuff, but like his stats, what he's done in his career, it's been below mediocre. At least I would argue that. Have we ever seen a quarterback that 4 years into his career all of a sudden pops after that? Have we?
I would say I'm gonna push back on you a little bit. I'll go back to you say his stats been a little mediocre or even below mediocre. I think last year he had 16 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, and 2 of those interceptions were Hail Mary throws in the Browns game. I mean, that doesn't go overlooked by the Bears, I don't think. So really, that's. But then you want to talk about a guy like Trevor Lawrence. Let's pull up his stats and talk about him. And you talk. I mean, you put him in your top 15 quarterbacks.
Yeah, so, the Trevor Lawrence thing is a bit projecting. That I'll single-handedly.
I mean, how many interceptions did he throw last year?
He was banged up a lot. And
how many times did he fumble in games?
Listen, if we're comparing him to Trevor Lawrence, right? And I know you're saying because I think that Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback and I think Justin Fields isn't good, but like. If the goal is to do what Trevor Lawrence has done through the first 3 years, that's not good either.
No, I agree, but I'm saying Fields actually had an okay season last year because that's not even including his rushing stats. I mean, in 13 games, he had 16 touchdown passes, 7 interceptions, and he had, about 600 or 700 yards rushing, about 6 touchdowns to go with that. His stats weren't that bad.
Right.
The team improved a lot. They were a couple fluke innings of games away from being in the playoffs last year. I mean, they had a 26-14 lead against the Lions with 4 minutes to go in a game and somehow lost it. They had a 28-7 lead against the Broncos and found a way to lose the game. The Browns game, I think we all know that was a crazy ending to that one, the way it finished. Heck, they should have still won the game on a Hail Mary that was laying right in the guy's laying on his chest, and he somehow kicked it to the other team. But
Right.
they were close last year.
All right. So someone put in. I asked the question: has there been a quarterback that has was bad and then popped after year 4? Because I think almost across the board with guys you've seen something, right? You've seen him overcome a bad roster. You've seen just at the very least improvement. Guys like Kyler Murray, there's improvement there. Lamar Jackson, there's improvement there. And Lamar Jackson plays on a much better roster. I'd say the Cardinals aren't a terrible roster, too. And I still feel overly confident in watching Kyler Murray play as opposed to Justin Fields.
Why, though? Why?
Because, the numbers are better, much better, right? Much better.
I mean, Justin Fields in his second season had the Bears averaging about 30 points a game over a 7-game stretch. And go look and see who he was playing with on that team. I mean, go look at it. You want to talk about a bad roster? Two of those 4 receivers I don't even think are in the league anymore. They had Dante Pettis and N'Keal Harry. That's who his starting receivers were. That's who.
Right. Listen, I get it.
And they were averaging 30 points a game.
I'm not seeing the improvements for Justin Fields. Right. I'm not. His completion percentage is getting slightly better. And I've got the stats right in front of me. The touchdown to interception ratio getting slightly better. His yards per attempt has been the exact same through his entire career. And I bring up a guy like Kyler, who for the most part when he plays all the games has always had more touchdowns than Justin Fields. Always has thrown for more yards. Always has completed about the same amount of passes. But I'll continue to ask the question, and maybe I'm not framing it right. If you give me a good, everyone's if you just give him a good team, he'll pop. Have we seen a guy in the NFL, truly, you bring up Jim Plunkett, I looked up his stats. It's so hard to judge a quarterback from the 80s because the stats are just so crazy. And I know he had success in the third team he went to. But, have we seen a quarterback that hasn't at least taken a team to the postseason or transcended some of the shortcomings that they get, and then pop, right?
Geno Smith's one in the league right now.
If you're gonna compare Justin Fields and Geno Smith, then the Caleb Williams thing is a no-brainer.
I'm not comparing him, John.
So
you're asking a question, and I'm answering your question. A guy that never played for a team, didn't have any success with the Jets, went to another team, has been in the playoffs 2 times now. I mean.
Okay, so if the ceiling is Geno Smith, then it's a no-brainer.
I'm not comparing him to Justin Fields.
Okay,
I'm just answering
if that's the best, if that's the best comparison, if that's the best name you got, then that's why I have concern for Justin Fields. It's because we're not seeing that next step 3 years into the league. We're not seeing that yet. That's the only cause of concern I have. The major cause of concern that I have. I'm waiting to see it pop. I think that there's 2 players in the league that, and I think I heard Colin Cowherd say this yesterday. For the most part, we look at quarterbacks and we see, yeah, that's a good quarterback. Or, yeah, that's a bad quarterback. It doesn't take much football knowledge to see it. And there's 2 quarterbacks that the coaches, the analysts, all have one opinion on, and the fans have another opinion on. And those 2 guys are Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. The coaches, the analysts, no one's trading for Justin Fields. Once again, I heard the Ian Rappaport report, but you're telling me that there's no one actively trying to get him? But the fans are constantly going, this dude's a playmaker, this dude's a guy. And then the same thing is said for Trevor Lawrence. The coaches, the analysts, this guy's pretty good. And the fans go, this guy sucks. So those are the only 2 quarterbacks in the league right now. And I know there's some gray area with guys like Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, all that stuff. But for the most part, I think that you could say that those 2 quarterbacks have such a great difference in what fans think of them and what analysts, coaches, guys that do this thing professionally, which I know that isn't the end-all be-all, what they think of him. So it is what it is. Casey, did we get through all the headlines, or did we stop right there?
The final two headlines I have for you: Darnell Mooney signs with the Atlanta Falcons for a 3-year deal, $39 million. Bolsters that offense up just a little bit more. That's a scary-looking team. I know I talked about the Atlanta Falcons last year. They were my Detroit Lions from 2 years ago. Look where the Lions are at now. So I'm expecting something very similar from the Falcons here shortly. The other one, DJ Reader, has scheduled a visit to the Detroit Lions Thursday, tomorrow.
All right, so I got here yesterday. We had a lot of people watching the show yesterday. And I ranted and raved about all the moves that the Cincinnati Bengals have had. And I think across the board, to this point, the Bengals have knocked it out of the park. I love the Geno Stone signing. Love it. In a secondary, on a safety, where you're missing Jesse Bates, right? You get a guy that was second in the league in interceptions, that is 24 years old, and you get him for 2 years for less than the price of 1 year of Jesse Bates. On top of Jordan Battle, who was the highest-rated PFF rookie. On top of Dax Hill, a former first-round pick that we've seen some nice things. Great move. Mike Gesicki. I saw some quotes floating around about Mike Gesicki saying that he's a matchup nightmare and all this stuff, and he is, right? He's incredibly athletic. He's probably not as physical as a lot of tight ends in the league, but size, he creates a problem. And with Joe Burrow, I think that he has the opportunity to flourish. I think Mike Gesicki more than fills in that third target window for Joe. I love it. Gives another red zone option for Joe. I love that move. I said that the move from Joe Mixon to Zach Moss is a great one. You get younger, you get cheaper, get less tread on the tires, and you get a more explosive runner. Check, 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 check. All those moves are great. I have overwhelming faith that the Bengals can get a tackle of the future in the draft. I think they'll also get a veteran. But man, to say that I'm worried about the interior line would be an understatement. It truly would be. A week ago, I said here that the Bengals have a lot of money, top 5 in cap space. They need to spend it on their interior line. I brought up the fact that you look at the last 5 Super Bowl winners. Yeah, three of them were one team. But you look at the last 5 Super Bowl winners, what do they all have? A dominant force on the interior line. Dominant. Aaron Donald's the reason the Bengals lost the Super Bowl. You look at Chris Jones with the Chiefs, Vita Vea when the Bucks won, and Tom Brady. So I wanted the Bengals because I think this is an evolution of the game, right? Thinking ahead, going forward, is that their interior pass rush is becoming maybe the greatest luxury in the sport. And if we can't get them, then I want to make sure that teams can't run the ball all over us once again. And here we are. A lot of names have been taken off the board. A lot of names that the Bengals were rumored to be looking after on the interior line, and the Bengals got nothing. Nothing. They need not one guy on that interior line. They need to sign 2 guys. Yeah. And here we are in day 3, and the guy that Casey would argue has been the best defensive player over this current run of the Bengals, DJ Reader, is going to go visit with the Detroit Lions. And I've heard some other scuttlebutt that the offer that the Bengals offered to DJ Reader wasn't competitive at all. Almost a slap in the face. So to say that I am worried would be an understatement. And you know what? We can do all the pipe dream moves that you want. What's all the rumors going around? Justin Jefferson's going to the Bengals. I don't care if we can't stop the run. I don't care if we can't push back that interior line. We can't get gashed because guess what happens when you do get gashed? You don't get the ball back. They march down the field for 12 minutes. And on top of that, when you're playing in a league when you're playing in a division that has a guy like Lamar Jackson. The number one way to stop a mobile quarterback is to immediately push the interior line back. I know it's keep contained, but if you push it back, you push him out and flush him out immediately. So this is where I'm worried. That's why I'm worried, Casey.
Yeah, I mean, you lose DJ Reader. Like I said yesterday, the level of talent there, you're not going to find anywhere else. You're not going to find one player that does what DJ Reader does. And, you know, the Bengals are notorious for letting guys walk and then trying to fill them in with two other guys. They did that with William Jackson. They're not going to be able to do what they did with Carl Lawson with the Trey Hendrickson thing, like I just mentioned. And the market is just really bare right now. And we can't afford to have to spend 2 top draft picks on interior defensive linemen because we haven't even filled the biggest need, right tackle.
I push back on the right tackle thing. We've got a great draft with plenty of options for tackle. I think you can get a stopgap kind of a low tier right tackle,
Well,
and
I'm saying as of
and then
this
draft
moment,
a guy.
This moment, they have 2 holes at the defensive tackle spot, nose tackle spot, and right tackle. Those are the most glaring needs. And if you're forced to pick those positions in the draft, that's not a good thing, because more than likely you're not going to get the guy that you want. So that's my first thing. DJ Reader getting on that plane basically already spells out that the Bengals do not have the highest offer, clearly. The Lions have the highest offer. The only thing that's holding them back is his health. Can he prove that he's ready to go or show some sort of –
Which I think is what's holding the Bengals up. And that's a legitimate concern,
That's a valid
right?
concern.
That's a legitimate concern.
But they have pigeonholed themselves now. And I guess that they were never going to really find a guy like DJ Reader and what he's able to provide you in this free agent class. I think that's the other thing, too, that we don't really want to talk about is that there is no one like DJ Reader. So that's why they've been in this sort of stalemate, Western showdown. You know, they got their hand on the trigger, the showdown, right?
Yeah. Okay, Corral.
Yeah, I mean, and plus as well, like the tackle market has not even really been touched yet in free agency. So they probably feel like they're in a good spot, that they were already going to get a guy that was going to be a stopgap player for them at tackle. It really just depends on how much money they're going to spend on that when they sign DJ Reader. The problem is if they don't sign DJ Reader, they're in a lot of trouble. I don't know what they spend their money on if they don't get DJ Reader.
Well, this is I was wondering if you can push the hand on the Jamar Chase and get that extension moving, right? You go ahead and front load that extension if you have free money, so where you can keep him around. This is becoming eerily. I'm getting almost deja vu. You remember Tom last year would always bring up the Lou Anarumo quote of the safeties. If we don't bring one of those guys back, it's going to be a dark, dark day. And it is becoming more and more clear that might be the case. There's still some guys out there that I think could fill it, right? DJ Reader's obviously still there. Sheldon Rankins, just to name one. That's a name that has been brought up a lot about coming to Cincinnati. That if Cincinnati doesn't get one of these tackles, and maybe they've already put feelers out and they just didn't get them. Maybe it is like last year, the tight end and the safety market, where they try to get all these different guys and they don't come here. And we're forced to get the a la Nick Scott. Here's the difference. And this is what worries me the most about this. Is an interior lineman is significantly more important than a safety. If we get an a la Nick Scott fill-in on that line, this defense will not be good. It wasn't good last year, and I think they've made improvements. I think it's fair to assume that adding Geno Stone to the defense helps the secondary. Another year under the belt of most of the young players in the secondary helps the secondary. The time that was given to Myles Murphy at the end of the year helps. Sam Hubbard's going to be healthy again. These are all good things, right? Likely, you hope that the linebackers don't play as bad as they did last year. But, if we can't get anybody in there to either push back the offensive line, push back the centers, the guards, the 1, the 3 tech, or fill up those gaps, it's going to be a long year. It needs to be done. It needs to be done.
There is some. So he purposely made it on Thursday because there is Eric Armstead that it could be available today this afternoon at some point. I think that there's some guys out there like T.R. Tart that they might try to get a value replacement for. That he's the only nose tackle really left available at the moment. Nose tackle, not defensive tackle, the 3 tech, the guy that's going to be really pushing the pocket for the rushing purposes. So he's biding his time, and the more time that passes, the more likely that the Bengals are going to have to give this guy an offer that he wants, in my opinion. I feel like all the leverage is in DJ Reader's corner at this moment. Bengals are kind of just in this standstill, letting time pass by, letting all these players get signed. Again, I'll say this. I don't know what they do with the money that they have available to them if they let DJ Reader walk. I'm assuming they go get like a Trent Brown, and then maybe we see them spend money on Jonah Williams. Maybe
Tyron Smith.
I don't know.
He'll get hurt.
Yeah, I don't need more of that.
I honestly, I don't know the last time Tyron Smith played a full season. I mean, that's
Yeah, I don't like signing over the hill guys. I don't like it. I think the market on the interior line is becoming bare. That's undeniable, right? All the big names are gone. DJ Reader is the biggest name still there. And there's some mid-tier guys that if we at the I am going to cause myself to not get overly worried. If we get a couple of the mid-tier guys, right? Maybe you spend a second-round pick on an interior lineman, that guy who graded very well in the RAS score, I think, from Florida State. Draft him, then, for the future. But I said last week, you got all this money. The 2 biggest holes, the 2 most expensive holes were right tackle and interior line. And the idea in my head that seemed most logical was get a veteran, not a great right tackle, and then you draft a guy in the first round, and then you go into the draft shirt up at the interior lineman. It truly is something that worries me, and I don't know what the answer is, and I think that's where Bengals Twitter is now, right? I think that's where if you get on X, you see people concerned about it too, because there's not clear as day answers anymore. That's the scariest thing in all sports and all of life, really, is when you have a problem and you don't have an answer. I don't know about your guys' life, but pretty more often than not, you get to somewhere, you get to something stressful, you get to a problem proposes in your life, and it's pretty easy to find an answer. More often than not, it gets scariest when you don't have that surefire answer, and that's where the Bengals are at on the interior line. Casey, are we ready to roll?
Yep, we gotta roll.
All right, we will roll. All right, so we hear from it looks like Tom's on the road, but it's Marty and Tom. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Tom, where are you headed?
I got to make a couple stops here this morning, so I'm on my way to the doctor and a couple of other stops. So I'm good.
All right. So we'll make this a quick segment then, so that you can get on the road and get your errands done. Marty, I saw a picture. That you might have met the Chatterbox crew yesterday and your boy Elliot. How was that?
Let me tell you something. I knew they were out here, but I really had not thought about it last night when I was at the ball game. And I was walking out of a party area out in the outfield where the Reds radio and TV sponsors were located. And I ran into Nick Kirby. And he said the boys were there. So I walked down to section 102 where they were and sat there for about 25 minutes and chatted and said terribly insulting things to Elliot to make him feel at home, and talked with Trace for a while. And it was a very, very interesting gathering of minds. It truly was. And Elliot, of course, had to expand upon his so-called knowledge of everything under the sun to try and impress me, which was impossible to do given my relationship with him on TV. And so all in all, it was good and nice to see them, and they're all healthy and they've enjoyed their trip. They apparently feel like, at least Trace does, that Grand Canyon was the greatest of the trips and the stops that they made since leaving Cincinnati. But it was a rather unique trip that they're taking. They were very in great spirits last night watching the Reds get hammered by the White Sox. And I'm glad that I was able to see him last night. It works out well since I'm with you guys Reid here today.
Yeah, it does work out well. You know, last time we talked to you, you mentioned their trip. I asked you if you would be caught dead on that long road trip, if you would hop in the van with Elliot and Trace and Kirby. After meeting them, you said not a chance in the HE double hockey sticks. After meeting them,
I would not do it because I think if you spend hours on the road with them, then the van would start to smell, and that would not be acceptable for me. A lot of bodies in that van now. Believe me when I tell you that.
Yeah.
So I would have to pass on that, I think. Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. All right, Tom. I wish there was more baseball that we could talk about right now, but there is a bunch of football. And Tom, I would love to hear your opinion on the Cincinnati Bengals and the moves that they move. I think the most interesting is the Zach Moss, Joe Mixon thing. So, Tom, what are your opinions on the move that the Bengals made to trade Joe Mixon and bring in Zach Moss?
Well, look, I was always a big Mixon fan. I thought the guy played his tail off here. And up until about the last year, he was a model citizen off the field and all that kind of thing. And knowing what we knew about him coming out of Oklahoma and the situation with the woman there, which was awful. But he conducted himself. He was a great teammate by all accounts. He had a great career here. He's one of the top 3 or 4 backs in the history of the franchise. But you got to get younger and you got to get better. And I think that's what they did. They got younger with Moss, who has always been a guy that has really thrived in a complementary back sort of thing. If you need him to be the workhorse kind of guy, he can do that. But he was sharing time with Jonathan Taylor there in Indianapolis. He'd have some big games when he was a guy, and he was fine catching balls out of the backfield, running it when Taylor came back. Gesicki, I think, is a really good pickup on what he's capable of doing. If you're getting the guy from 2 years ago and not necessarily the guy from last year in a terrible New England offense, awful offense. But, hey, look, the bottom line is, Reid, you were talking about it before we jumped on. They've got a pile of money to spend. And I have said before, and I'll continue to say it until I'm blue or green in the face, we're going to find out how much they are all in to win this year by what they do, starting with that defensive line. And secondary for that matter, but certainly defensive line and right tackle here over the next couple of weeks. Because if you were talking about Jonah Williams, for my money, there is no way on God's earth Jonah Williams is coming back here. They're not giving him $20 million a year to play right tackle. It ain't happening. So they got work to do. I know they know that. They got a good start, but they still have work to do.
Yeah, if they don't, I was just saying, if they don't shore up that defensive line, it is an incredibly dangerous precedent that I think that they are setting based off of the way that they addressed how they did against the run game last year. So I don't know how do you think it's more important for them to shore up the right tackle or that defensive line, Tom?
I mean, you got to protect the $50 million man. I mean, you can't have, he's been hurt 2 of his 4 years in the league. Taking all the training camp stuff and putting it aside. But last year with the wrist, his first year with the knee, you got no hopes to win if he's not back there. We found that out last year. So I guess you'd start at right tackle. But, they allowed, and we've talked about this, they allowed the most explosive plays in the league. Explosive plays are defined by runs of 12 or more yards, passes of 20 or more yards. They gave up the most such plays in the NFL. That is a guaranteed recipe for zero chance to even get into the playoffs, much less win in the playoffs.
Yeah, there's no right. They've got to do something there. All right, guys, I feel like that's enough Bengals talk for the time. Marty, we have you on. It's March. I'd feel remiss not asking about your North Carolina Tar Heels. Number 4 in the nation right now, going into the ACC tournament. They swept Duke. How do you feel? How do you like your chances of North Carolina making a run at this thing?
Well, I mean, they've got the ACC tournament to play.
Right.
They draw a bye into the semifinals as well as Duke. But they're finishing the season strong. And that win against Duke at Cameron Indoor Stadium Saturday was impressive because they played the best 40 minutes of defense that they played the entire year. And this has been one of the top defensive clubs, to my incredible shock, over the last 7 weeks. If they get through the ACC tournament, I know what they're shooting for right now is obviously a number 1 seed. And that number 1 seed, unless other things happen with the Purdue's of the world and Houston and Connecticut, they are going to battle out, I guess, Tennessee. Tennessee's got to get through the SEC tournament. Kentucky looms there. Carolina's got to get through the ACC tournament. Duke is the biggest stumbling block you would think, unless they were upset in the semifinals. I like the way they're playing. They've gotten great bench play out of their guys coming off the bench. They've shown great depth the last three weeks to a month. So, I still don't know whether or not they can win the national championship because my problem with them overall has been they will go through long stretches, 4 or 5 minutes without scoring a point. And I don't think you can do that once you get in the tournament. And if they can overcome that problem, I think they've got as good a chance as anybody, although I still maintain, and I'll probably prove to be wrong on this, but I still maintain that I think Connecticut's got the best team in the country. I said that 2 months ago, and I'll stand by it now, despite what Creighton did to them earlier this season. Every one of those clubs have been beaten by teams that they were not supposed to lose to. All 4 of the number 1 seeds have. And so I stand by the feeling that Connecticut's going to win it all, but I think Carolina's right in there with the rest of them.
So you think that they can hang in there with the big boys like Connecticut, like Houston, who I think most people would assume are the 2 favorites to win the national championship? Do you think they can hang with them?
If they can continue to carry their ability to play defense into the tournament, I think they can. I really do.
All right. Casey, I asked you if you had anything for the guys before the show. I think he reluctantly said he might. But, Casey, you got anything for Marty and Tom?
I do not have anything for them at this moment.
All right, fair enough. Here's what I'll ask you, and here's how we'll wrap this up because, once again, I know Tom has the chores to attend to. You have been hard. I think it's part of the bit that you've been hard on Elliott at times on this show. After meeting him, did he warm up your heart? Did he snuggle up? Did you warm up to Elliott at all after meeting him for the first time, Marty?
I don't think that I warmed up to him. I discovered something that I really hadn't felt, and that is I think he's really kind of cocky. Yeah, I really think he's got a little cockiness in him that I've not been able to see into when these chats that we've had on a weekly basis. And that just gives me a greater foundation for coming at him harshly when he finally returns. And that's why I'm thankful that we got together face to face last night and listened to him try to impress me with the things that he knows. I'm not impressed with all that stuff. Sooner or later, if he learns that, he's going to be better off, but I don't know that he has it in him to learn.
You said that he tried to impress you with the things that he knows. Can you give us, like, how was he trying to impress you? Just random facts, random knowledge?
Yeah, he just overwhelmed me. I mean, after a while, I couldn't just say anything because he was talking the whole time. He got out of his seat when he saw me standing at the top of the section. I said, just settle back down because it's going to take you a while to get back down there. And now let me come to you. And so I went down there, and Trace had gone outside. Trace had got a little bit of ninny in him because he was outside trying to put on a jacket because it was really cold last night. It got chilly at the ballpark in the late innings. And I felt like he should have known better coming out here how it can get at night, especially this time of year. And, everybody settled in, and Trace finally showed up. And Trace and I had a very intelligent conversation. I wish I could say the same thing for Elliot and me.
Fair enough. I'm gonna have to get on Elliot for being a little too cocky to the Hall of Famer.
Little cocky.
Marty, Tom, thank you for joining in today. Always a pleasure talking with you guys.
You man, see you, Dad.
Yep, see you, Marty. See you.
All right, Tom. Take care, guys. Thank you.
See you, Marty. I wish we had recording. Like, I know we got the picture. I wish that we had audio recording. Just maybe they could have gone live. They're at the ballpark of just them chatting it up. Elliot and Marty chatting it up. I'm sure it was a conversation to behold.
I would have became a nut cutter, a member of our program, to watch that conversation. All I see is Elliot in here. I'm enraged. I'm furious. I'm not cocky. I think the chat has dubbed him Cocky E at this point. Poor Elliot.
CE. Cocky the Elliot. CTE. CTE. Fair enough. Speaking of CTE, CTESPN has stated that Justin Jefferson is going to be a Cincinnati Bengal. Yeah, go ahead and explain this to me like I haven't been on Twitter for the last 24 hours.
Well, basically, rumors are rumors. And best friends Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and Joe Burrow, they all played together at LSU. And Justin Jefferson currently upset with the Vikings. He apparently refused a deal worth $30+ million because he wanted to know what the quarterback situation was. He got his answer at Sam Darnold. Not a good situation for our buddy old pal Justin Jefferson. So the idea is that the Bengals would trade T. Higgins, our first, for Justin Jefferson, to reunite Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Joe Burrow for the foreseeable future. Now, I think a lot of this rumor is based off this one clip from Jamar Chase. I'm going to play it because I don't know if many of you remember this interview. This happened a while ago. Here we go.
Going back to Louisiana, do you ever dream or have the goal of one day reuniting you, Joe, and JJ on one team in the NFL?
Hey, if we could do that, I'm with it. I ain't a selfish player. I don't mind. I might have to take a cut. He might got to take a cut too. But I ain't a selfish player. That would be fun to see again.
Going back to Louisiana.
Basically, the idea is if you could find a way to pay Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, the same deal, right? Where it's $27.5 million for each of them a year. And maybe Joe Burrow takes a bit of a pay cut to be able to sustain that. Mm-hmm. You roll with the best receiving duo this NFL's ever seen, and one of the best quarterbacks to throw to them. I mean, it would be an incredible scenario if that were to play out. But there's already reports that the Vikings have not are not even interested.
Oh, shocker!
In
this isn't. These aren't real rumors.
Yeah, these are not real rumors. But the hypothetical is fun to think about.
Here's my opinion on the whole Justin Jefferson thing, and I brought this up before on this show. I have bags under my eyes because I'm tired. I'm exhausted of the 2019 LSU stuff. Truly am. I get that it might have been the greatest college football team we've ever seen. I get that Joe Burrow put together maybe the greatest college football season we've ever seen. I understand it. I get it. Won the national championship, blew out teams, played like 10, I think they played like 7 top 10 teams or something like that, and blew them out. And they played one close game. But that was 5 years ago. And I think that what amped it up even further was the fact that Joe Burrow got Jamar Chase. They're like, oh, that's the first 2 pieces of the puzzle. It's first 2 pieces. But it's so tired, guys. It is so tired that we keep doing this. I get it's exciting. Justin Jefferson to the Cincinnati Bengals is so exciting. That'd be incredible. Truly would be. Now, if you ask me, if we can get the best player at any position in the league, wide receivers coming in at like 15. I'd rather have the top edge rusher. I'd rather have the top interior lineman. I'd rather have the top left tackle, right tackle. I'd rather have the top cornerback. I'd rather have those positions. Probably would rather have the top tight end. Not over Justin Jefferson. That was a step too far. Yes, if the Bengals get Justin Jefferson, it's incredible. But that doesn't answer the problems that we still have in front of us, right? Right? If the Bengals get Justin Jefferson, it's like getting a second car, getting a second Mercedes when you got a leak in your roof. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Once again, I'm not belittling if the Bengals got him that it wouldn't be incredible. But I'm also not doing this 2019 LSU stuff anymore. I don't want Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I don't want Thaddeus Moss. I don't want Coach O to be the head coach. I don't want to do it. I'm tired of the Bayou boys. I love Joe Burrow. I love Jamar Chase. Justin Jefferson and the Bengals would be awesome. But I'm tired of it. It's exhausting that we keep doing this. It's exhausting. Truly. And this isn't the last time. Justin Jefferson, I'm going to spoil it. And maybe, hopefully I'm wrong in all seriousness. Hopefully I am wrong. He's not coming to the Bengals. You all know that. It's fun. It's like getting a lottery ticket and go like, man, I know I'm not going to win. But $1 billion would be pretty cool. That'd be pretty neat. I'd buy a lot of cars, go on a lot of vacations, buy a nice house. But it's not happening. It's just not. And I'm just going to warn you also, I'm going to spoil this too. This isn't the last time that it's going to be brought up. Hell, we were talking about it at the trade deadline. What if we got Justin Jefferson? Remember that rant from Trace? Like, if the Bengals don't get Justin Jefferson, they're not a serious team. We're going to keep doing this. It's going to keep coming up on Twitter. And maybe I shouldn't get mad at a silly thing like Twitter. But I hate I hate consistently pushing to get LSU, the band, back together in LSU. Oh, they play in Louisiana, playing New Orleans, the Super Bowl this year. It's all coming together. Joe, Jamar, Justin, in New Orleans for the Super Bowl. Getting that Bayou, Gumbo, not Jumbo. It's Casey. Now, I always bring up running backs don't move the needle. And I don't want it to sound like that with Justin Jefferson coming to the Bengals. That's incredible. All of a sudden, where I'm talking about just earlier this week, do the Bengals even have a top 10 weapon room in the NFL? They go certifiably back up the chain to probably 2, maybe 1. But let's not get worked up in non-realities. Let's focus on the task at hand, which is, let's get an interior lineman. Let's figure out what the future is at the right tackle position. Am I a bad Bengals fan for not getting like super pumped about this? My brother's texting me clips. JJ's Justin Jefferson's coming to the Bengals. No, he's not. It ain't happening. Am I a bad Bengals fan for not getting worked up about this?
No, I don't think you're a bad fan, Reid. I just think that it's like the lottery ticket scenario, right? Like, it's fun to dream. right? It's fun to do the hypothetical. Like, can you imagine what that looks like with JJ and Jamar and Joe? I mean, it would be unstoppable. Now, the reality is Vikings are going to be, if they were ever to trade Justin Jefferson, it would be like T. Higgins this year's first, next year's first, because he's the best receiver in the NFL. I mean, at that age.
Right.
And then on top of that, you're going to have to pay him. The likelihood of him wanting to take a pay cut seems kind of low after the fact that he was offered a $30+ million deal and he turned that down. But maybe he cares more about winning and what his quarterback is more than anything else.
You know what? Honestly, this reminds me of, and you're not a big baseball guy, but it reminds me of, we do this with the Reds too. When's Josh Harrison going to come to the Reds? When's Kyle Schwarber going to come to the Reds? When's Brent? All the local guys, we do this. Bring those guys home. Bring them to the Reds. If you think like Josh Harrison finally signed with the Reds this year in the twilight of his career, the same thing's going to happen with Kyle Schwarber if he comes at all. The same thing just happened with Brent Suter. There's no authenticity to it. Do Joe, Jamar, and Justin want to play together? I'm sure they do. I'm sure Justin Jefferson would rather have Joe Burrow throw him the ball over Sam Darnold. Are the Vikings going to give up Justin Jefferson? Are there even talks that Justin Jefferson is on the market? Are we just pulling this out of thin air? Because it feels like we are.
It is out of thin air.
It's complete. Yeah. What are we doing? What are we doing? Can we as a fan base, maybe that's what fans are. Maybe I shouldn't be hard on fans.
Yeah, I mean,
because as fans, we're just getting excited about things.
Yeah, it's just the day. It's just one day on social media to just be dreamers, right? When the Bengals, they've done this now a couple years in a row where they don't make any moves the first couple days that are significant, and then they just wow us with something. I feel like this year that would be like the wow, like, oh my God, that's the best thing that could have happened type scenario. There's not that this year. That's really what it boils down to. You're not getting a guy – like, I'm not jumping for joy over Kendall Fuller. I'm not jumping for joy over Tyron Smith or Eric Armstead for that matter. Like, I expect DJ Reader. I expect Eric Armstead if you lose DJ Reader. You know what I mean? I wasn't expecting Orlando Brown Jr. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it really boils down to. But
so you guys are getting on me for getting on Bengals fans about this. Can you understand there's just the frustration? Like, I'm trying, and maybe it's a bit tangled up into my disdain for college football at times. That I don't want to be reminiscent. I want the Bengals to kind of mold their own team of history, right? I don't want to be a tagline in the LSU, oh yeah, they went and played in Cincinnati. I want Joe and Jamar and whatever piece mold their own history in stripes. And I get, like, listen, I get it, right? They played together, Tigers to Bengals, Super Bowls in New Orleans. The script writers going crazy. They're going nuts. They're getting together. They're putting it all together. But I refuse to get overly worked up. And once again, it's fun on the internet. I compared it to when I go and buy a Powerball ticket. I know I just wasted $2. But for the day, I get to imagine what it would be like if I won $1 billion. When I throw a 20-leg parlay together for a quarter today on whatever sports book and it wins $500,000 if all 20 legs hit, did I just waste 50 cents? Sure. But for the day, I get to imagine what it'd be like if I won $500,000. And maybe that's all that's going on. That's what it seems like. It's what it seems. But I would rather the discourse on Twitter be what are we gonna do about the linemen, right? What are we gonna do about the trenches? I'm tired of watching the Bengals get gashed on the line. DJ Reader, Eric Armstead, Sheldon Rankins, name them. Bengals need 2 of them. Bengals need 2 of them. We'll worry about the second wide receiving target soon enough. I will say I thought more about the Mike Gesicki stuff. And seeing quotes about Mike Gesicki, man, it got me fired up. I think that he has the potential, and this is, I think, a pretty low bar to clear based off last year's production. I think he has the potential to be a way better performer as the third target of Joe Burrow than Tyler Boyd did this last year. I think if you've watched the Bengals, one thing that you can say that has been a common occurrence is that when they get in the red zone, it's not good. It's not good. When they get in the red zone, they're not scoring at a high enough clip. And the reason, the easiest reason to explain why that happens is because their line hasn't been exceptional. But I think part of it is also tight ends are so valuable. Mismatches are so valuable in the red zone that now the Bengals do have a viable threat when they get in the short field and Mike Gesicki. Now they do have a viable guy to jump up, right? They had T. What about over the middle of the field? I love the signing of Mike Gesicki. Casey, any other news that we want to talk about with the Bengals? We did the Justin Jefferson stuff. We talked about Gesicki. We talked about the interior linemen. I don't know if there's anything else you want to get to.
I don't know if there's any news per se, but I do want to say just a potential scenario, see what you think if we don't sign DJ Reader. I just kind of put something together really quickly with this list. Instead, you get Sheldon Rankins and you get Tier Tart, and you just try to replace him with 2 guys.
Yeah, that's where I say you can do it in the aggregate, right? You can I don't want Nick Scott on the I don't want there to be like we got to get somebody, just get anybody. Tier Tart, Sheldon Rankins, that makes sense. It's not what you expected, but at least it's good enough, right? It's not the overall weakness. It's not going to be just exploited every game, every time they go out on the field.
I would also do something like Eric Armstead and then, I don't know, Eric Armstead, and you probably wouldn't be able to get Tier Tart at that point, but you could probably get maybe even a guy for I don't know, Calais Campbell for a year. That'd be interesting. But,
that's an over-the-hill guy, but right, he's a little older.
Yeah, but then you could also afford to draft a guy later, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
I guess there's some options, but they're dwindling really, really fast.
You want to hear a take that isn't unique to me, isn't unique to really anybody, and it's pretty blatantly obvious, but I'm just going to throw it out there. 6th round pick, kicker. But I'm talking like a Puka Nacua. I'm talking like a Pacheco. I'm talking one of these guys that you get late that you found the diamond in the rough. You found the jewel. He's cheap. You get him for 4 years. No one else saw it coming, but you did. And we keep circling around what needs to happen. We keep circling around, and we all know it's just you got to draft well. Solves up a lot of problems when you just draft well. But, oh well. I saw a funny chat was from Everett Henry. I'm trying to pull it up. He said he turned on Kay Adams at 11A.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, buddy. Hey, reader. I think I got to change my priorities. Listen. When you're looking at the faces on the screen, I can't compete with Kay Adams, especially not with these scars. Don't blame you, Everett. Don't blame you. But we love having you here. Casey, we haven't gotten to him yet. Let's go ahead and do the ads.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do the ads. The Bengals Report is brought to you by Encore Technologies. Encore Technologies provides IT solutions for a data-centered world with a suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing modules to improve efficiency and
productivity.
Visit Encore.tech. The path to innovation begins here. let me tell you about this lovely bottle of water right here. Pawnee Water. Made right here in Hamilton, Ohio, uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing that other brands use. The result is a healthy alkaline water, and some say the best tasting water in the world. Visit Pawnee Water at PAHHNI water.com so you can buy this great tasting water. And we have our newest sponsor, the Game Time app. Game Time is a ticketing app that I used quite a bit last year. Anytime I really need to get a last-second ticket, I went to the Game Time app. They got all their pricing up front, so you know exactly what you're getting, and they usually give you the best prices for last-minute shopping. Visit GameTime.com to see where you can buy these the tickets. Download the app, redeem the code OTB for a $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's, again, OTB. For $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app for the best ticketing service out there.
They really are. They really are. All right, thank you. Yep, redeem off the bench for $20 off your first purchase. All right, so we've got a segment that I threw together yesterday in case we needed to fill time. Didn't get to all the news. Hasn't been as much breaking news today here in day 3 of the tampering. Legal tampering, by the way, is the best name in any period of the offseason in professional sports. Legal tampering, right? It's a great name. So we'll get to buy or sell. We haven't done this in a while. We haven't done this really since I started hosting the show, which I think I've got, what, two more days? Today's Wednesday. I think I got to host Monday. I think I got to host Thursday. I don't know if I can host Friday, but I've had a blast doing this. Thank you guys so much for being here. Hope you guys. I know one person has loved it, and it's Mouse Cop. He's loved all the NFL talk. He's loved it all.
I mean, I don't think either one of us will be able to do it on Friday, right?
We'll see. We'll talk about it after the show. Also, programming note: they're doing a live stream out in Arizona tonight. They're doing a watch-along for the UC-Kansas game. Obviously, Trace's favorite team is the Kansas Jayhawks. Obviously, Elliot's favorite team is the UC Bearcats. But, yeah, so tune into that. That should be a lot of fun. Checking out on them. They got to Goodyear yesterday and all the road trips. So they keep putting out great content. All right, buy or sell. Casey Rue. Hit that buy, hit that sell. Boom. Buy. Sell. Boom.
There we go.
Jolly brings up a good point. We need to get some music underlaying on some of these segments and the ad reads. We'll work on that today. All right, Casey, buy or sell the signing of Saquon Barkley makes the Eagles a threat to win the NFC once again.
Makes them a threat in the NFC.
Because I think we both had them taking a step back again.
Yeah, I do think that the Saquon Barkley signing is good for them, though. I just feel like they're going to lose a lot in losing Kelsey. So I do think it helps, but I don't think that they're going to be better than what they were last year. So I don't know if that answers the question.
Saquon will be better.
So Saquon will make them better.
I'm still selling. I'm still selling that the Eagles are very viable in the NFC. I think it's a bad. So give me the sell. I think the Eagles aren't what they were 2 years ago. I don't think they are what they were through the first 11 weeks of last year. And Saquon will have a better year. Saquon will have better numbers. It's inevitable. He's dealing with a better line even without Jason Kelsey. But I think Nick Sirianni's in over his head. Jalen Hurts is a pretty good quarterback. He's not an exceptional quarterback. The media's too hot there in Philadelphia. I think the Cowboys still win that division, but I don't see the Eagles as a viable threat in the NFC. I don't see them winning the Super Bowl. So
I have to agree with that.
All right. The NFC North is the second best division in the NFL. I think we all have the AFC North as the best division in football, rightfully so. You buying or selling that the NFC North is the second best division in the sport?
NFC North, that's Bears, Vikings,
correct.
Packers,
Lions.
Second best.
So you sounds like you're selling.
I mean, I have to kind of think about that. I don't think I mean, it's Lions and Packers division at this point. Go through the rest of the league. AFC East, it's Bills.
Bills and Dolphins.
AFC West, just the Chiefs.
Maybe the Chargers.
Maybe the Chargers. I doubt it.
South, you got the Jags and the Texans.
Texans, Colts.
East, you got the Cowboys and the Eagles. NFC South's bad.
So
NFC West
the
has
strongest or the toughest? Because I would say that the AFC South
second
is
best.
tough.
I said second best.
Yeah, I'll buy that the NFC North is one of the harder divisions to compete in. I would say that the AFC South, though, like, you have more teams that are above that midway point, right? Like, you have the Colts, who are 9-8. You have Texans that won a playoff game. The Jags, they won a playoff game last year. They're improving this year. I don't trust Trevor Lawrence, but I do think that team is borderline above 500 team as well. So, yeah, I would say it's either them or the NFC North.
I'd say the NFC West is very competitive. The Rams, the 49ers, I think both those teams are going to be contenders in the NFC.
Yep.
You look at the AFC East, they have the Bills. I think they're going to take a step back based off their entire secondary being gone. I think the Dolphins are going to be just what they were last year with very little difference. I look at the West. Obviously, they have the Chiefs. You like the AFC South. I'm with you on that take. But I just don't sleep on the NFC North. They had teams last year, 2 teams that no one talked about the entire year. Some people talked about the Lions. But 2 teams won a playoff game. And I still hold that the Packers should have won that game against the 49ers. They didn't, so I'll take it back. Still hold that the Lions should have beat the 49ers, but they didn't. The Packers are the youngest team in 40, 50 years to make the playoffs. They're going to get better. They've got a good coach. They got a good quarterback. They're going to get better. I think the Lions are here to stay. I made this buy or sell, admittedly, before the Sam Darnold news. I figured that the Vikings were going to get somebody better than Sam Darnold.
They probably will still try to get a quarterback.
I think they'll still draft a guy.
Yeah.
But don't sleep on the Vikings. If they keep Justin Jefferson, they probably have the second best weapons in the league, if not the best weapons. Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, T.J. Hawkinson. That's a pretty good weapon. And then their coach is pretty good play designer. The Bears remains to be seen. We'll see what happens with the Bears. I don't want to do the Justin Jefferson thing. Once again, I think that we're a little too close to home here. I think that there's a lot of affinity when it comes to Justin Fields. I think there's a lot of affinity, and I get it. Ohio State guy, get it. But I don't see what you guys see. And maybe that's just the whole conversation we need. Casey, will you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Will you flash up our number on the Are we good to take calls?
Yep, we can take
I don't know if anyone will call in. But if you call in, I'll ask this question as we continue to go to buy or sell. And we'll just jump around. How worried are you about the Bengals D-line? Or you can answer this question. Am I being a stick in the mud for not caring about the Justin Jefferson stuff? Call in. Talk to me. All right, Casey. Buy or sell? Buy or sell? We already talked about Derrick Henry. Does this change, buy or sell, this changes the complexion of the Baltimore Ravens? Derrick Henry.
Hang on.
You're fine. You're fine.
Let me add
I
that
already
in
know
there.
my take. I don't think this changes it at all.
So for me, I do think it does change it if they go out and get another weapon at receiver. I don't think it changes much if they stay the same as they are right now. Maybe they see more heavier boxes again. Like, I don't think people realize that Derrick Henry has not seen a 6-man box his entire career, and when he did see it, it was him running up the gut for 10 yards. So I think that we'll probably see more heavier boxes, which maybe that doesn't really change much, but maybe we'll see more of Lamar throwing the ball in play action. We're getting some callers coming in, by the way.
All right,
so
that's fair enough. Also, I saw your father-in-law, Nathan Hines, say, sell, Nate. We don't host to repeat something 10 times without making a point. You talking about the Justin Fields stuff? What are we talking about? The point that I make over and over again about Justin Fields is it seems like a no-brainer what the Chicago Bears should do, and that's draft Caleb Williams, start the clock over, don't pay Justin Fields because you're going to have to pay him $45 million in a year. So that seems. But we got a call. We got a line up. We put the hook, put the night crawler on the line, threw it out in the water. We'll see what we bring on in here.
All right, who we got?
All right, who's calling?
Hello, this is Molly.
Molly! So happy to hear from you.
Hey, you guys are always doing a top chat spots, right, on Fridays?
Yes.
So I've got a top 5 Chatterbox host list that I'd like to read.
Oh my gosh. I hope if I'm going to let you read this, I hope it doesn't hurt my feelings, but I'm preparing that it does. But Molly, go ahead.
Reed, you're going to like it. You're going to like it.
Ooh.
All right. Runner up is Lindsay, because she's an intern, so.
Okay.
You know,
that's honorable
not
mention.
making the top 5.
That's fair.
Number 5, Casey.
Okay.
Casey runs the show. His heart is in the Bengals 100% for sure. And he steps aside in quiplash. He's just a nice guy.
He is a nice guy. He does a fantastic job. Casey is the unsung hero here at Chatterbox. Works tirelessly. So we salute you, Casey, coming in at number 5. Who's you got at number 4, Molly?
Number 4 is Tom Brenneman.
Ooh.
He's, the previous host of the show. He's son to Marty. He's no U fan. He's no SU fan, and he's got a great tan. So
Fair enough.
Number 4 is Tom.
Fair enough. He does. That's honestly one of the most underrated. We all know Tom's voice. It's booming voice. Guy's always got a great tan on him. He's got to be going to the beds. He's got to be going to the tanning beds. 100%.
He does well.
Who do you got at number 3, Molly?
Number 3 is Elliot. He's funny. He thinks he's good at golf. He knows he's good at tennis. And people just like him.
That is.
Or
Elliot,
they like to hate him. I'm not sure.
Well, Elliot's fun. He's a good sport, right? Marty slings a lot of mud his way. A lot of people do. He's okay with that. But Elliot, the one quality about it's almost impossible to have a conversation with Elliot and dislike the guy afterwards. He's an incredible guy. So that's number 3.
I mean, you like him and you hate him.
That's true.
So number 2, I've got Nick Kirby.
Ooh.
He knows the Reds. He roots for Stuart Fairchild, which I love. I like rooting for the underdog. And he's just an all-around good guy. Plus, he's taking care of those guys on the road right now. At least
Yes,
I think he is. Seems to be.
If there's one person that I know that's probably the adult on that road trip, it's got to be Nick Kirby. It's got to be Nick Kirby.
100%.
It's
100%. And then number 1 is Reed.
Yes! I was scared.
You take the crap, but you do it willingly.
Thank you.
You're a good host.
Thank you.
You lose points in my book for being a Cubs fan, but
That's
you
okay.
gain for taking the reins this week. So good job. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Molly. I honestly, I got to marry my wife, love her very dearly. I got to be the best or the maid of honor at my sister's wedding. I've got to be a godfather twice. The greatest honor that I've ever had is being number 1 in Molly in your host rankings on Off the Bench or Chatterbox.
Yeah, you're doing a good job. You're taking over. You're doing well.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Molly. And thank you for the Cubs Christmas hat. Appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. I hate the Cubs, but I know you like them, so.
Thank you so much. All right.
There
Molly.
you go.
Thank you. Thank you for
right.
stopping in.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Guys, what did you think of Molly's list? What do you think of Molly's? I loved it, personally. I don't know why I loved it, but I loved it.
Was it a top 5 host list? Is that what she said?
I think, personalities. Trace not being in there was surprising. Trace does a great job.
It wasn't even an honorable mention.
No, he slid Lindsay in there. But thank you so much, Molly, for putting me at number 1. I was scared. Listen, I know she said that I would like the list, but when we're getting to the end and there was 2 people that hadn't been named yet between me and Trace, I was terrified that I wasn't going to be on the list at all. We got another caller?
Yep, we got another
caller. Who we got on the line?
Hello, I would like to speak I would like to speak to you about your car's extended warranty.
This feels like a Mr. Mo. Am I right?
No.
No, it's not. Well, I don't want it. Normally, I just hang up when it's an extended warranty. Who we got?
No, I'm just kidding. What's up, guys?
How's it going, man? Was that right?
Well, it was going good until you decided to bring out your troll takes today. I don't understand why you have to do this to me.
What do you mean? The Justin Fields stuff?
Yeah, like what? I don't understand how you can say all this negative stuff about Justin Fields, but then on the same hand, put Trevor Lawrence in your top 15 quarterbacks. Like, what are we doing?
So here's the thing. I have seen Trevor Lawrence get better. I saw him regress. But if you're asking me right now, who would I rather buy stock in? Justin Fields in a new situation, Justin Fields with the Chicago Bears and 20 draft picks or whatever they can get, or Trevor Lawrence down there in Jacksonville? I'm still taking Trevor Lawrence.
Based on what, though? Because you said earlier you haven't seen Justin Fields improve, but then 10 seconds after that you decided to name some stats where he improved. So
Slight, right?
I don't know what you're doing.
He improved slightly, right? I mean, it's like completion percentage went up a tick. It is, but it's not the improvement that I would want to see to give franchise quarterback money to, right? It's not the money. It's not the improvement that I'd want to see. The thing about Justin Fields is I think that my take and your guys' take, right? I do not hide the fact that I'm not a very big Ohio State fan. And I think that guides some of my bias. I'll fully admit that.
No.
I'll fully admit that. As long as you guys admit that it guides some of your bias as well. Can we do that? Can we meet on common ground?
Oh, absolutely. It does guide some of my bias. However, what I will say is I do agree with you on I think the Bears should draft Caleb Williams.
Okay.
Just because I don't think that they should pay Justin Fields because they don't want him.
I think that's where you're wrong. I think that a lot of people in the building do want Justin Fields. I think that a lot of fans do want Justin Fields, and I think part of the reason is because the Bears have never seen a good quarterback before. They're unaware of what it looks like, and when they see a guy that does some exciting things, it's pretty easy to fall in love with that guy. But when your options are, hey, let's go Justin Fields, who hasn't seen major improvement in 3 years. Let's go ahead. We're going to have to give him money, and the market rate for a franchise quarterback is at the bare minimum $40 million. It seems like a no-brainer with the Justin Fields stuff. It really does. And as for the Trevor Lawrence stuff, and I admit that this perhaps isn't the best place to come from, is that Trevor Lawrence was the top recruit coming out of high school. He went into college and immediately succeeded. He won a national championship, and he was listed as the top overall prospect that we've seen since Andrew Luck, all the stuff that we say almost every single year. The reason that I'm doing that is because the opinion on Trevor Lawrence was so high before he got into the NFL, where Justin Fields, it was kind of like, yeah, he's really athletic, but can he translate to the NFL? So I'm just holding it off of prior opinions, maybe not so much of what I've seen in the NFL, which I admittedly, as you'll tell me, isn't always the greatest place to come from.
Yeah, which I mean is exactly what you're doing with Caleb Williams too.
Correct. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm glad that you agree with me with Justin Fields. Like, the Bears have a no-brainer. Can we agree on something? That the Bears aren't a well-run organization. So if you are a Justin Fields fan, you should want him to go somewhere else.
That's exactly what I want. I want him to go somewhere else. I actually want him to go to Minnesota. I originally wanted him to go to Atlanta, but that didn't happen.
Minnesota would have been a great spot for him. I think a sneaky good spot for him would be Seattle as well. I don't know if Seattle wants to make that move, but that's a sneaky good spot for him. Like New England, that's a death sentence. Anywhere else feels like a death sentence.
I'd rather him sit out for a year.
One area that I do think, and I'll leave you with this, and I want to hear your opinion, and then I don't know if we have other calls, but do you think it could help Justin Fields to be like, go to a team like the Baltimore Ravens or Philadelphia, where he sits behind a guy that has similar talent but goes into a well-run organization for a year and kind of gets the pressure off of being a franchise before going somewhere else? Do you think that can help Justin Fields at all? Or do you just want to see him play?
No, I absolutely think that helps. And the reason is because if you look at a franchise like the Green Bay Packers, what do they constantly do? They draft before their previous quarterback is ready to leave. They develop. They let them learn. And then what happens? Stuff like Jordan Love happens. They're more ready to come in and succeed when their time comes. I actually am one of those people that thinks that it's absolutely stupid for you to draft a rookie quarterback and then immediately throw him in the fire.
I think the game has changed considerably to where this is where, in my opinion, that used to be the right take, because the way that high school and college were played 10, 15 years ago didn't have these guys ready to play in the NFL. Now, I think that I know the style is a little different, but these guys are reading defenses at a high level in high school and in college now, to where they necessarily don't need to read. They will have to catch up to the speed of the game. But I don't hate that take, but I think the game has changed quite considerably, where that's not a necessity anymore.
Sure.
All right.
Agree to disagree on that one.
All right, Mr. Mo. I got to let you go. We got two callers on the line, so I got to let you go. We borrowed up too much time. Thank you for calling in. I got to tell you, the voices, top notch.
Thank you. Thank you. You'll hear more of them when I'm employed, but but you guys take care.
All right, fair enough. All right, Case. CC, we got somebody else on the hook?
Yep, I'm getting them ready.
All right.
Go ahead.
Casey, before we welcome in this new caller, Casey, put a poll question up. Who will have a better next 5 years, or craft it however you want, Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence? I want to see what the poll says on that. All right, who we got calling?
Hello?
Hello.
What's up, Reid? What's up, Casey? Appreciate what you guys do for the show. Great show. Reid, you were talking about DJ Reader.
Yes.
They cannot let him walk on that plane. That's my opinion. Because it really, we're at DEFCON 1 if they let him walk, in my opinion.
It's
DEFCON 2. Go ahead.
Well, first off, who am I talking to?
Riley? Yeah.
All right, Riley. I don't disagree with you. I don't want to do this that we can't let a Bengal leave, right? I don't want it to seem like it's just a guy that we've had here in-house that he can't walk out. It's more of the matter of fact of he's the top defensive tackle, and we've got to do something there. I think there's multiple ways you can shore up that line. If you lose DJ Reader, that gives the most obvious answer to that hole. You watch him walk out I don't hate that take, but from what I'm hearing is that it's not likely that he ends up in Cincinnati based off of offers, based off the fact that he is going to Detroit. But I hope I'm with you that if he leaves, that's not good.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I like the I'm trying to think. Tart, and who was the other guy that they were?
Tierre Tart, Sheldon Rankins.
Rankins, yep. I think that would be a pretty decent fit, but obviously, ain't nothing like a DJ Reader.
Yeah, you've got to with as much money as the Bengals have, the easiest solution is to fill these voids with money. And I understand maybe DJ Reader's injury is worse than we are giving it credit for. And I get where the Bengals' concern is. He's getting older. It comes a little harder to come back from an injury. But I will be incredibly anxious, I think is the right adjective, if they don't shore up this defensive line in some way. I don't want to see like the bottom tier Nick Scott, Irv Smith situation like we saw last year. We can't have that.
Yeah, I 110% agree. I mean, I'd rather have the defensive line fixed over, having a bridge at right tackle because Jonah's not going to get paid what he wants, obviously. And I do agree with you, like the Bengals not wanting to pay DJ because, that injury, because you never know. I mean, the upside is obviously there, but the downside is the downside.
Right. I think that they can still go through the draft. I think they can still go through the draft for the tackle and get someone in the interim. But we'll see what happens there. Riley, thank you for calling in. Before I let you go, who will have a better career in the next 5 years, Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields?
Part of me wants to say neither, but probably Trevor. But
Okay.
I think they'll both fizzle out within the next 5 to 7 years.
Both fizzle out. All right, thanks, Riley. I disagree with the fizzling.
Yep, thanks.
I disagree with the fizzling. I think Trevor Lawrence, he's got the build. He's got the great coach. We'll see. All right, Casey, who we got on the line? Who we got here?
We got Big C on the line. What's up?
Big C, what's up, my dude? How are you?
All right. Well, I am doing all right here. I just there's a couple things that I wanted to mention. First thing, I really thoroughly enjoy watching your show. I'm not really in the chat a lot. I'm actually usually on the road a lot. So I just listen in podcast form or sometimes I have YouTube up, but I really thoroughly enjoy the show. And, honestly, as a host, honestly, I mean, rumor has it that the numbers are just keep on climbing in the chat. I don't know. It's just, I'm just saying.
Thank you. I think a lot of it has to do with all the Bengals news, but thank you so much for filling my ego. Big C, what do you got on your mind about the Bengals? What do you got on your mind about the Bengals?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
The Bengals?
Yeah. You're a Colts guy. You're a Colts guy.
I'm a Colts guy, yeah.
Well, thank you for Zach Moss.
Honestly, I was about to mention about Zach Moss. I had season tickets last year for the Colts. And there's this, I had a really clear vision of watching Zach Moss, and every time Jonathan Taylor was hurt, it didn't affect me because I was like, oh, Zach Moss, he's just a stud. And as soon as they had that trade, I can't remember the trade from Zach Moss to.
He came from Buffalo. I forget the trade.
Yeah, he came from Buffalo. I just don't remember the trade, but yeah, I think we traded a running back for him. But I was excited when he came to Indianapolis to yeah, I think you guys got a stud. I feel like nobody's going to give him much praise now, but I'd say in the future, a lot.
I agree with you, Big C. I think come Thanksgiving next year, we will be talking about how good of a signing Zach Moss is. I'm absolutely on board with you. I asked Riley this question. I'll ask you this question because I think we got somebody else on the line. Nope, nobody else on the line. But I'll ask you this question. Who will have a better career, Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence?
Justin Fields, dude.
Oh,
Justin Fields.
Come on. You don't mean that.
Trevor Lawrence, dude. Trevor Lawrence, hold up. He's trash, for one. I think he's just not great. I think it was Casey that said this. Under pressure, he's not good at all. The dude just panics. He kind of reminds me of when Peyton Manning had pressure. He would just kind of fall down, don't want to be involved.
Listen, Big C,
kind of funny.
You're comparing Trevor Lawrence. You're telling me he's trash, and then you're comparing him to Peyton Manning. You're giving me conflicting reports.
I understand, but Peyton Manning, we know he wasn't a scrambler, so
right.
Whenever he got pressure, I think that was pretty much his last years of Indianapolis. But yeah, I was just I think Justin Fields has the highest ceiling in my opinion. I think he's still got potential, and he's an Ohio State Buckeye. Just saying.
That's fair. That's fair enough. All right, thanks for calling in, Big C. Thank you for the kind words. Thank you for watching every day. And most importantly, thank you for not being a distracted driver and listening, not getting in the chat, and just listening to the show. So we appreciate you.
Yeah, of course. Have a good one, guys. Have a good one, Casey, everybody.
Yep. Thank you, Big C.
Yeah, Big C. I love Big C. He always tweets us. Oh, he always tweets us on the X.com, and I appreciate him. He's got some fun things. I forgot momentarily that he was a Colts. If you listen to him when we talk about the Zach Moss, Joe Mixon thing, going into last year, if you would have asked almost universally who were the best running backs in the league, they would have said like Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley. Jonathan Taylor would have been up there. And here you just heard from a Colts fan that you didn't even notice when it went from Zach Moss to Jonathan Taylor. And I'm going to be worried that Joe Mixon's gone. Casey was MFing Zach Moss just 2 days ago. I think he's came around quite nicely on that. Casey, do we have any other callers?
Nope, no other callers.
All right.
We're good to wrap up.
I think I'm seeing if there's anything else in my sheet that we had where we're going over time. I don't think anybody cares when we go over time. Thank you for calling in, guys. I truly do appreciate it. Thank you for all the kind words. I'm not taking it for granted. Truly. You guys have said some really nice things. Molly put me in the top of her chat. Big C said I've done a fantastic job, and I truly appreciate that. Obviously, all the things that were said in the chat yesterday, truly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I know you guys tease with me a lot, and I bring it on myself. All the Cubs stuff, all the anti-Ohio State stuff, I bring it on myself, but I do love every single person that watches this show. And I'm truly having a blast hosting this show over the past week, and it's been a lot of fun. And hopefully soon we can talk about some other stuff in the NFL. I like talking NFL. I think it's like an evergreen thing. That's what's great about the NFL. It makes all the other leagues feel regional. It encompasses your mindset. I am truly intrigued to see what happens with the Justin Fields stuff. Truly intrigued. I hope for the sake of the argument, not Justin Fields, but the argument about what happens, that Justin Fields doesn't go to some terrible situation like New England. Because if he goes to New England, that helps nobody. It doesn't help Justin Fields. I don't think it helps New England. And it certainly doesn't help definitively decide this argument about what is Justin Fields. I saw Jolly getting in there about Trevor Lawrence. All I'm saying about Trevor Lawrence is I'm not selling my stock. All of you guys can sell your stock on Trevor Lawrence. I'm not selling it where it's at right now. I'm not necessarily buying more of it, but I'm not going to, just because of a bad year where he was banged up a lot and he didn't, get better. We expected this Jaguars team to take a next step, and they didn't do that. I'm not gonna sell the Trevor Lawrence stuff. Casey, do we have a cherry on top?
I do not have a cherry on top for you, other than I do have some local news that some of the chat just brought it up about John Lomax passing away. Local morning anchor reporter for Channel 12. Worked with him for a couple years. He was a great man. I wish I knew him more than what I did. Of course, I was working in control room. He was down in the studio. But every time I had a conversation with him, he was always very, very kind and very funny, very, very charismatic. So condolences to his family.
Yep. I remember watching the news. He was fantastic. Truly was fantastic. All right, so we got the Cats playing at 9. There will be a watch-along from the boys in Arizona, so be sure to tune into that. Kansas versus UC. I'm sure Elliot and Trace will be at a sparring of words. Thank you so much to Molly for calling in, Riley, Big C, everyone that got on the horn. Maybe we'll take calls again tomorrow. I will let you know tomorrow about Friday's show. Tentatively, I think I'm not going to be here because I got to do the Miami stuff. I think tentatively the plan was to have the same guy who hosted it last Friday, the same guy who was on the show today, old Tom, come back and do a show. So hopefully that's the case, but I'll let you guys know about that tomorrow. The other big games today, Xavier plays Butler, first round of the Big East tournament. That'll be if you win, you get to go get smoked by UConn. Maybe one of those teams upset UConn. I think UConn's a wagon. I think Houston's a wagon. I think everybody else middles. And the final thing today, final basketball game here locally. 6P in the Cintas Center. The Hamilton Big Blue taking on the Centerville Elks and the regional semifinals. First regional semifinal game for Hamilton in 20 years. I haven't decided if I'm going to go to that game. I don't think I am. But if I do, I'll be doing the Dana Gardens route. A little Dana Gardens trip before high school basketball. Doesn't get better than that. Guys, we will see you all tomorrow. Casey, thank you so much for producing today. Thank you, Sean, for coming on the show. Marty, Tom, all the kind words you guys have said. We'll see you tomorrow.